Hey guys, so I am now on season 2 of the podcast. It's been almost 6 months since I recorded or even uploaded anything. The reason for that is a lot's changed in my life. I've moved from Arizona to Southern California, which I will say, as of today, Thursday, March 19th, 2020, the governor told all of us to stay in our house pretty much. We are now on order to stay in our house because, as most of you know, we are in a global pandemic of the coronavirus outbreak, which is pretty insane. It feels like end times. I'm not saying I'm religious. I'm just saying times are definitely crazy. And with times being crazy, sometimes people get crazy mentally, physically, emotionally. So this podcast is just myself so that I can kind of set the stage for all the guests I'm going to bring back from season 1 and all the new guests. So with that said, let's talk about a current event. Right now in California, the governor orders 40 million to lockdown, which sounds pretty insane because it is. There's a huge virus going around called the coronavirus, which everyone and their mother knows about. Now, what do we do to fight this? Well, for me personally, the way I fight this is I continue exercising and I continue to maintain a good diet. Because one thing that I noticed is inflammation causes a lot of sickness. I'm no doctor. I'm not claiming to be one. I'm saying from personal experience. When I was eating foods that were inflamed, very high carb foods, lots of sugar intake, I was getting sick almost once a month or more. And I've been on keto for 6 months. I went from 280 body weight to 225 in a period of 6 months. It was not easy. However, I've maintained this lifestyle of a new eating habit, which I think is very important for the times we're in right now, because I can't even imagine myself going to the grocery store and stocking up like I used to even 1 year ago when my body weight was 280. My intake was insane for the amount of food I needed. So in a sense, the keto diet was a blessing in disguise because it taught me how to ration my food, how to lower my intake, and still have energy. For me, carbs and sugar are obviously no more involved in my life, but carbs and sugar really inflame the body. And right now with the coronavirus, the little bit of studying that I have done on it is we need to fight this by staying healthy, staying inside, making sure we're not exposed to other people, etc. So with that said, I would say something that I've learned during this time is to really appreciate, living a healthy lifestyle. I think things will never go back to the way life was. Our life will never be the way it used to be, resulting in we have to take change from this situation going on, this chaos going on in the world right now. We're almost forced to change our lifestyle. Well, we are forced to change our lifestyle. As Americans, I fell right into the quote unquote eating fast food diet, which made me sick and unhealthy. So for me, during these times, it's been much easier to maintain a healthy diet. I'm not saying I'm better than anyone. I'm just saying, hey, this is what I've learned. And I would really strongly suggest starting some sort of keto diet or some sort of diet so that if a global pandemic like this happens ever again, which it most likely will not, you'll be ready, because there's a lot of people freaking out. They're going to the stores, they're hoarding the food, and a majority of these people live on such an awful diet. I used to be one of those people. Do I look down on those people? No, not at all. But what I'm saying is, as a nation, we need to change our eating habits because this virus spreading around can be fought by eating well and eating food that is not inflamed, because sickness and disease travels through inflammation. And like I said, I'm going to say it again, I am not a doctor. This is just from my own personal experience. Do I take a lot of vitamin C? Absolutely. Do I stay well hydrated with electrolytes? Yes, absolutely. Do I know that this virus is serious? Yes. And I know that it, to some people, it just cannot be avoided. However, what I'm saying is, imagine if we all lived in a society where we were informed about good eating habits, and when a crisis like this happens, we will not be storming the stores, stockpiling and hoarding food for people who really need it. we will have trained our bodies to eat well so that when we do go to the store, we can look at our fellow human, such as an elderly person or a young child next to us, and be like, hey, there's food for everyone here because we trained our bodies to eat well and we are informed. It's crazy to me that I go to the store nowadays and there's no food. There's barely any food. I never thought I'd see a day like this in my life. My great-grandfather was a Holocaust survivor. This seems like something straight out of Nazi-occupied Germany. And I'm being extreme there. However, what I am saying is it's sad to see how we're treating other humans. I'm not saying we're all guilty of this, but it just makes me realize we do need to be kind to each other. And I know we are being kind to each other. It's just what I'm saying is when the schools are shutting down, when small businesses are shutting down, this is a time we kick in together as a community and as a people, and we support each other. I will say the number one thing I've learned from this last couple of days, actually last week, or actually 2 weeks, is to be less selfish, less self-centered. That's what I'm taking from this, is it's not about me. It's about us. I've been to the point in my life where I've hit absolute bottom, absolute rock bottom, emotionally, physically, financially. And I'm not saying I've always been thinking like this, because I have not. But what I am saying is less is more in today's society, and especially with the way our world changed overnight. We will never go back to the way things were. So we have to change how we are. So if something like this happens again, we will be well prepared. We'll be well prepared in many ways. Financially, in our diet, emotionally, physically, the list goes on. And the reason I'm making this podcast, well, one of the main reasons is because I'm a small business owner and the government came in and shut us down. So I'm in self-quarantine. But the reason I am making this podcast is because I think it's important for us all to be in communication so that we don't feed off the fear of the media. There's a lot of false information out there. There's a lot of fake news, but I'm sure, most of us already know that. But there's some of us who don't know that. And once we read it, we just become so fearful. And this war has so much fear over us, over our nation, and over our world. And I personally am calling it a war because I think it's a world war, a very silent one, but it's also a very deadly one. Obviously, the virus is very serious. However, something that is just as serious is the way we respond. If we go into absolute madness, and if we go into chaos and we riot in the streets and looting happens and people go crazy, the government will step in and martial law will take place. That's not a place we want to be in. And it's not just something I'm saying. These are the times. These are literally happening right before our eyes. These things are happening. We have to be informed and we have to be aware. My hope is that this will pass with time. However, life will not go back to how it used to be. Disneyland is closed right now. Movie theaters are closed. The malls are closed. A majority of everything is closed. This is the time we live in. Did you ever think we would live in these times? And we need more people to speak up. We need people to speak out against fear. There's a lot of unemployment. We need musicians to come up and make music that encourages people, because there is crippling fear all over the world right now. And I'm not just saying musicians, I'm saying anyone that brings some sort of positive life or positive mental attitude to life. Those people have time right now to reach the masses and to help people who are going through hysteria. We have to overcome this with some sort of cure. And am I talking about the coronavirus cure? Yes, absolutely. But I'm also talking about cure of the mind. Something that can make us happy and distract us from the chaos. Something that can distract us from the mass panic. I heard a story of a man once who got into a car accident. He flipped his car. The car was on fire. He thought he was on fire. He was running through the streets. People were telling him he's totally fine. He's unharmed. He's alive. He convinced himself he was on fire. He said, I'm going to die. I'm going to die. I'm on fire. He went into cardiac arrest and he died. Little did he know, his mind put him into a mass panic that stopped his heart. And with these times, we are in mass panic. However, we have to control our minds and control our hearts and control the way we live to get through this. And if you take one thing from this podcast, remember that story of that man who went into mass panic and put himself into cardiac arrest. We cannot do that during these times. This is a time where we will find our inner strength because our world that we know is crumbling around us. Small businesses are crumbling. They're completely shutting down. People are losing their life over the virus. People are just losing their mind. But I really do think there's some sort of peace underneath all of this. And one day, when this all passes, we will have learned a life lesson that many people will never experience to this extent. And if there's one thing we can take away from these times, it's that we are not promised tomorrow. So enjoy every second of your life. Enjoy every time you sit down with your children, every time you sit down with your mother or your father who are still left on this earth. And remember that in any moment, this life can be over, but it's not over. So tomorrow, try to take a different approach on this chaos going on. Try to look at the ones you love and say, you know what? The world is crumbling, but we're together. And my friends, I just want to tell you that if you're dealing with any sort of extreme depression or any sort of suicidal thoughts, please reach out to me. It is not worth killing yourself over what's going on in the world. Please, there's someone out there that needs you because I need you so that I know I'm alive. I just want to say thank you again for tuning in. This is season 2 of For the People, By the People podcast with your host, Levi. We'll talk soon.